This is the Wide Format Impressions broadcast. Welcome to the Wide Format Impressions broadcast, our inaugural episode. We're glad you're here. I'm Dan Marx, Content Director for Wide Format Impressions. Today we're talking about the use of artificial intelligence, AI. And while it is currently uncertain the extent to which AI will change the printing industry, including wide format, there is little doubt that its effects will be profound. And as this technology works its way into every aspect of how wide format producers do business and how they produce, the gravity of this technology means they should adapt and adopt with thoughtful planning.
To help us understand how AI is affecting the printing industry in general and the wide format segment specifically, we have Andy Paparozzi, Chief Economist for Printing United Alliance, and Lisa Cross, Principal Analyst with NAPCO Research.
Thanks, Dan.
Thanks, Dan.
First of all, I'd like to start by establishing just a little bit of foundation. For the sake of this discussion, how do you both define AI? And are there sort of different approaches or classifications of AI as a concept?
Well, I'll start, and quite frankly, the definition I prefer is from a book I highly recommend titled The Business Case for AI, Kavita Ganeshon. Very readable book. I learned so much from it. And she defines AI as the process of training computers how to mimic human thinking, decision-making, and behaviors. And she goes on to explain that AI has been around for a long time, since the post-World War II 40s, but it wasn't until the early 2010s that it gained wide applicability to business problems in particular. And she talks about 5 key AI technologies that have made this relevant to everyday business problems. She talks about machine learning, algorithms that identify patterns in data and improve pattern recognition as they are exposed to more data. They learn by doing. She talks about deep learning, which are even more advanced machine learning networks. Computer vision, which is used extensively in quality control, natural language processing, chatbots, and virtual assistants. And she talks about what she calls intelligent or smart robotics, not traditional robotics that have been trained or programmed to do one specific set of tasks, but robotics that remarkably incorporate machine learning and deep learning and computer vision and natural language processing to learn as they do and to go beyond a simple set of tasks to a more expansive set of tasks. And what I thought was very, very helpful in her book was she said the difference between traditional computer software and AI algorithms is simply this. Traditional computer software can only do what it was programmed to do.
Mm-hmm.
AI algorithms learn as they do. They learn and improve and expand their capabilities as they are exposed to more data. So again, her definition of AI as training computers how to mimic human thinking, decision-making, and behaviors, that's the best definition I've seen.
Okay. And Andy, just to follow up on that, do you find that sort of all of those classifications are being used in some way within the printing industry or could be used in some way?
I think they are now, particularly, Dan, the machine learning and computer vision. The computer vision is used every day in quality control. That's the kind of capability that says, wait a minute, there's an inconsistency or an anomaly in this sheet as opposed to previous sheets.
Right.
Very, very extensive and effective use. Of the 5, I would say robotics would be the one that will have the greatest leap forward next because of the kind of advances that are being made in robotics. And Lisa may be seeing the same thing with her fine work, but with the folks we interview for State of the Industry, they're beginning to embrace all 5 of those defining technologies.
Okay. Now, Lisa, I know Go.
I was going to add something. Andy, awesome explanation of AI. But one thing I would interject into that conversation is just about some of the differences. We talk about generative AI and why AI is getting so much press today. A lot of the puzzle pieces have come into place so more people can use it. And I'm not going to go into great detail about them, but like generative AI is an ability for people to use natural language to communicate with what they want with AI versus having to become a coder. So it's more like click, not code. So I think that's important to bring into this, discussion as we define AI today. One of those factors as to what is, driving its popularity and use. And there are a lot of other factors too, like computer speeds and the large collection of data. But I did think it was important to talk about generative AI and its role in natural language processing.
Yeah, and I think that natural language processing part is really, and I'm interested in your opinion on this, but does it sort of flatten the user curve? I know as more and more printing companies are looking toward automation, obviously it's a nice time for AI to come in through robotics, through the use of software, but people need to be able to use it functionally, like you said, not be a coder. Is this like kind of a confluence of technologies that coming at the right time when everybody is considering automation, Lisa?
I would agree with that statement. I would think that it's coming, I don't know that there's a wrong time for automation and improvement in your workflow, but I think, there's a lot of need today for tools that improve efficiency and help organizations to grow sales, both sides of that profitability equation. And I think AI addresses both of those. And that's why you're seeing a lot of organizations take the time to learn about AI and figure out how they're going to integrate it into their operations more actively. Andy talked about a lot of great things of how, AI might be embedded in a workflow when it's in something that a company has purchased. But now we're starting to see more organizations be more active in applying it in their operations.
Okay.
Do you agree with that, Andy?
Absolutely. That's one of the, I think, defining aspects of it, as you said so well, Lisa, is yes, folks are using it for productivity in operations, but they're also finding that AI has applications that can improve productivity and efficiency company-wide in areas that we never thought we could automate before, to Lisa's point.
Yeah, and let's talk about that. There is great need as you look at automation, as you look at the need to simplify things or even get into continuous improvement. What do you think are the specific drivers that are moving companies in the printing industry toward AI solutions? Lisa, do you want to start with that and we'll follow up with it?
I can tell you some of the drivers that I've seen in our ongoing NAPCO research side of the house, our ongoing survey research. When we look at those print providers that are printing on wide format devices, like all types of print providers, what are they looking for? They're looking for ways to optimize production, minimize costs, and improve efficiency and overall increase profitability. They're also looking for ways to grow sales, improve their marketing, increase their revenue, both sides. I think I mentioned this earlier, both sides of that profitability equation. So they're looking for an edge to do that. They're also looking to overcome some of the ongoing challenges that plague our industry, labor shortages, skills drain. AI tools offer many options and tools to address all of those things, from being able to better manage the color coming off of your equipment to better prediction and optimization of material usage to various AI-powered automation tools that can enable faster throughput and more precise production, eliminate manual touch points and error rates. There are also a lot of tools, and Andy, I think, mentioned this, for supporting sales, content generation, marketing, and marketing analytics. So I think there's pretty much an AI application for just about any challenge plaguing a company today.
Yeah, no, so well said, Lisa. That I think is the key point, that companies are learning they can use AI to enhance every mission critical function from, as you said so well, sales and marketing and customer service, all the way through risk management and cybersecurity and data security. And we're seeing also a growing interest in using, or growing recognition, I should say, that AI can be used to enhance decision-making company-wide. I've heard Lisa say many, many times so well about how we've got to get those big decisions right. Our margin for error is shrinking. And AI applications, by helping us be more data-driven, not just expanding the amount of data we have, but the kind of data we can analyze efficiently, greatly enhances our ability to get those big decisions right the first time. And that is a huge competitive advantage in our hyper-competitive industry.
Okay. And I know a great deal of the sort of data or the knowledge you're presenting in this discussion today comes from a recent Printing United Alliance State of the Industry survey where you asked very specific questions about that. Andy, can you tell us a little bit more about that survey?
Sure. That's a survey that we conduct quarterly of our State of the Industry panel. That's a group of approximately 320 companies from across our industry, very diverse. Annual sales range from less than $500,000 to more than $500 million, who participate in our surveys regularly. So the data are consistent from survey to survey. And each quarter we ask about key financial metrics, what's happening to sales, prices, operating costs, profitability, etc. But we also ask about the trends and issues, whether technological, economic, sociological, demographic, that are profoundly affecting our industry's performance and prospects. So, over the last year or so, we've been asking about artificial intelligence, particularly the status of artificial intelligence. Where is it in your company? Are you embracing it? Are you at least thinking about it? Or is it something that's not on your radar yet? And what we do is each quarter, each survey, we dig a little deeper. We learn from the previous survey, we focus our questions, and we do follow-up interviews to provide context and put the numbers and the responses in context so we know more about what they mean and don't mean and bring a richness to it, as well as that consistency, because we have a set panel. And so that's where the very, very fine data that Lisa has collected, that's where a lot of the data from the State of the Industry side comes. And I must add, all of that is only possible through a generous sponsorship of SOI survey and the reports that we generate from that survey, all sponsored generously by Canon USA. So thank you to Canon for making that.
Yeah, could I just say that I'm going to solicit for Andy's panel, because not only do we need a sponsorship, but we need people to take Andy's survey. So if you're not a part of that State of the Industry panel, you should become a part of Andy's panel. You get access to a lot of the great data that Andy collects in advance of everyone else. And Dan, if I may, I want to just give the title of the research study that we did as a combined team here at NAPCO Printing United Alliance, and that's Artificial Intelligence in the Printing Industry, The Journey Begins. You can Google that, and you can download our research study, on the NAPCO, all of the Printing United Alliance NAPCO brands. And you can also find a webinar that, Andy and I and our research director, Nathan, did. And there's also a podcast out there with two other team members, Anamika Dar, who works with Andy as an economist, and Corey Francer, my co-analyst. But sorry for the marketing plug there, Dan, but I just wanted to let your listeners know that there's more beyond our podcast today.
Yeah, and I'm happy to continue that marketing plug by saying that we'll include a link to that survey report in the description to this podcast, so people listening to this can have access to that. I think one of the interesting and frustrating things with AI right now is it is happening at this moment, and we are on the cusp, I think, of what will be very profound change. I feel to some degree like we're trying to provide a history of mobile phones the day before the smartphone hit the market. Like there's so much more to go, but we have to talk about it now. So I know when we look into that data, you got information on a number of companies either talking about that they are using AI currently or that they're intending to do so. And I thought the year-to-year comparison there, it's like the concept got traction among these business owners. So Lisa, do you want to review what you found there and that increasing interest?
Definitely. So whether, and this applies no matter what type of print provider you are, where we segment the data, this is a trend that we're seeing. That when we asked, say in September of last year in one of our surveys, if you were using AI, that was maybe about 25%, and then another 45% were not using it. Then when we asked again in March, it was almost like a total flip. You can definitely see this, this almost exactly the same, 40 to like 25. And then there were the rest were those that had no plans at all to use AI. Well, you definitely can see this migration happening where people are starting to, react. And the numbers even on some of the things that they're investing in, like Andy had mentioned, across the board from content creation to customer service to production, using today or plans to use, we're seeing definite trend in adoption. But there's also a divide. There's almost like 50-50 in some respects. So there is still a divide, and, maybe people are just waiting to see what's going to happen. They're not taking an action now because they're not sure on where to go. And I don't know that we would advise that. And I'm just going to ask my colleague Andy to share some really compelling comments that he's gotten in his research, because he's talked to me about them, and some of them are really compelling what your peers are saying about and why you better take action now. This divide needs to close. And Andy, maybe you want to share some of those.
Yeah, I'd be happy to, Lisa. And that's exactly right. As Lisa said, you got to be thinking about this stuff. We're not saying you've got to rush into it. It's complex, but you need to be learning about it. You need to be thinking about it. And these are comments directly from participants in our research. Interviews either Lisa or I conducted. And again, remember, these are not my words. They're not Lisa's words. They're not NAPCO's words. These are the words of your peers. I'm just going to read 3 representative comments. We have many more. Here we go. You can't sit on the sidelines with regard to AI because it is going to fundamentally change our business. So make sure you are learning about it. It isn't going away. We feel very strongly about our organization learning about AI and using it, because if we don't, our competitors are going to pass us by. And third quote, the big winners in our industry will master AI. Now listen to this, not just in production and operations, but will master AI at all levels of the company, what Lisa just talked about. Again, we have many more like that. Those are direct quotes from your peers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that the point that I took away from those quotes, the thing that resonated the most with me is that a business owner may not choose to go there, but they need to understand in so doing that their competitors will be.
Right,
and
exactly.
That decision is at their own peril. So I think, and Andy, you touched on this a little bit earlier, but I'd like to dig back into this. But, I think one of the most powerful tools for AI is the ability to make, as you said, better business decisions. Mm-hmm. Really based on the mountains of data that we have at our disposal. And when we're looking at digital production equipment, it can give us all kind of information if we're there to receive it. So much so that it can be overwhelming. So what are the opportunities for AI tools to be used to dig into that data and to extract something meaningful, again, that helps us make those good decisions?
Yeah, we listed in our reports 4 specific AI tools that are designed for business analysis and forecasting. So I recommend our listeners go to the websites that accompany the descriptions and begin to think about which one of those powerful tools for analysis and forecasting would best fit their organization. And again, it's important to understand what AI, machine learning, deep deep learning, the neural networks let us do. They let us analyze not just more data, but a greater variety of data. And again, I've heard Lisa speak very eloquently about the differences in data. Structured data are data that our computer spreadsheets handle very well. Financials, customer demographics, sales to an end market. We've been analyzing that for 50 years. That's not where AI makes the profound difference. AI allows us to analyze unstructured data effectively. Unstructured data is all that stuff that our traditional computer programs do not handle well. Text files, video files, audio files, images. So what the algorithms let us do is vastly expand the data that we can bring, the intelligence we can bring to a business decisions. Not only that, remember what we talked about earlier, AI algorithms learn by doing. So what an AI algorithm will do is they will update the analysis and the forecast as more data becomes available. Not when we get around to it, not when we have time for it, but as soon as more data becomes available. And the third thing, again, maybe most important, remember, these algorithms learn as they are exposed to more data. So not only do they update the analysis and the forecasts, they improve them. They make them more clear, more relevant, and more accurate. And one of the things we wrote in the State of the Industry report was, in summary, analysis based on deeper, richer market intelligence, what's happening internally and externally, updated in real time, and improved automatically as more data becomes available, supports superior decision-making company-wide. And in our increasingly competitive industry, where an unforgiving business climate is elevating both the return to making the right decisions and the cost of making the wrong decisions, those AI algorithms are a competitive advantage no one can afford to overlook.
Okay. Now, Lisa.
I'd like to add something, if that's okay.
Yeah,
here.
absolutely. Go ahead.
Because all that was great. Thank you, Andy. I love how you explain things. But what I was thinking about is, for our listeners, a recommendation that, there's a lot of tools and things are in flux and things change really fast. You need to assign somebody in your organization to be like your AI point person. You'll need to understand these things. You need to understand the possibilities of AI so you can apply them to your business. And when we did our research, we did interviews with a lot of print service providers. And there were a few of them that had sent their staff to an AI boot camp so they could learn about AI. And then they set up committees internally about how they might apply AI in various parts of their organization to improve their business outcomes. So I just want to put that out there, that it's very important for you to have somebody internal in your organization who's maybe your internal AI expert, evangelist, however you want to describe that person. But you need to have people in your company, up to speed and educated on AI.
Lisa, that comment kind of really leads me to another question. One of the pitfalls of using AI is to not adopt it gracefully. As you were saying, have somebody who's a champion. Learn about it before you make the jump. Figure out how it can help your company. And I will say, with it being such a changing playing field, stay on top of it, right? What are some other pitfalls facing users or adopters of AI at this point?
Well, I think you hit on the big one. Where to start? How do I get started? I don't know that there's an easy answer to that. It's, pick a place. But, one thing that people don't always realize, you don't have to go it alone. There's a lot of consultants out there that might be able to help you on your AI journey. There are also artificial intelligence as a service offerings, like many on the call might be familiar with. They might be buying their software through the cloud. So they're familiar with software as a service where there's artificial intelligence. as a service that might be able to help you, access AI capabilities without a large upfront investment.
Yeah,
So
and I
it's,
think, one thing I would jump in with is, to use that familiar quote from Ronald Reagan, trust but verify.
yes.
Yeah.
I've definitely talked to people who they're so all in on AI that it's like it's a magic tool that's going to make all the good decisions for
Sure.
them. And they can just sit back and, set it and forget it, to quote Ron Popeil. I'm not ready to trust it on that level. Andy, how about you?
Yeah, no, everything Lisa said is spot on. And again, another thing we wrote in State of the Industry, and I'll quote the report, is that the only thing worse than ignoring AI is assuming that it's a magic wand and that it is self-sustaining and you really need to have someone who is dedicated to understanding the applications, evaluating the applications, and evaluating them on more than price, evaluating them on how well they integrate with your key business intelligence systems, your CRM and your ERP and your MIS system, making sure you have the data that will support the application, because it's all about the data. And again, as Lisa suggested, it's going to be disruptive. You have to prepare employees for the changes that AI is going to bring to everything from workflow to company culture. Failure to develop essential skills. And something else I hear Lisa talk about a lot is failure to address ethical and security concerns. So there's a lot to this. And one of the mistakes some folks have shared with me is they did get into it just for the sake of getting into it. They didn't do the kind of thought that they needed to. They didn't ask, where can this most help my organization? What specific area would most benefit from AI? And then following a logical sequence to identify applications, evaluate the applications, and do everything else necessary to integrate AI successfully and profitably.
Yeah.
And I think nothing is more important than understanding them, because it is not a magic wand and it is not turnkey. Even something as simple as I mentioned before, 4 different powerful AI applications specifically for marketing and forecasting, or I should say business analysis and forecasting. 4 very powerful applications, but they're very different.
Yeah.
You have to have
You need to be
someone.
strategic.
Well, yeah.
You need to be strategic in
Right.
whatever you're doing, and that's my experience in the industry. There's always been those companies, the leaders that are strategic in everything they do and realize that any investment that they do is not a magic, the silver bullet. And then there are those that do not see it that way.
Right.
I
And
think
You brought up some
I think
very
there's
great points, Andy. On
there's
that.
also the idea of just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Should.
It should be thoughtful. And I'd like to
Yes.
continue on quickly with this. Just to what degree do either of you think that a lot of the AI tools we ultimately use in printing and beyond will be more cooked into the software and production systems we purchase? I see particularly software companies, workflow companies using some of that, some of the equipment companies as well, where it's not sort of a either or, will I use this or will I not? It'll just be part of running the machine. Lisa?
I don't know if I have a hard number, but I think pretty much anywhere somebody can add AI to improve a manufacturing process, they will. I mean, I just think of our everyday life and how AI is just about in every tool you might use. When you surf the web, to what you're served up, to using your mobile phone, AI is pretty much everywhere. And I think that's going to be the case in our industry, in the tools that we use, that there's going to be a lot of enabling. You're probably not even going to know.
Right. Andy?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Again, Lisa's spot on. And I would only add that you need to remember that AI is not creating marginal change. It is redefining everything we do and how we do it. If it's not integrated into your software, hardware, and equipment, Beyond that, if it's not integrated into your company, I don't care what you print, how you print it, or for whom you print it. I don't care how successful you've been. You are jeopardizing your company's future because the AI is that important, that redefining, and that disruptive. You got to go about it right, like Lisa has talked about and written so compellingly about, but you have to be doing it.
Okay. And the final question I have for you both is I'd like you to pull out your crystal ball and tell me how you think AI will have changed printing in the wide format segment in 5 years from now, in 2030. What do you see in that crystal ball? Andy?
I am not sure how exactly AI is going to develop, but what I am sure of is that, as Lisa suggested, it will go a long way toward defining who is a leader in the long run over our industry. It's something that we addressed in our most recent State of the Industry report. And we put it this way, and I'm just going to read what we wrote. This is from our 2024 State of the Industry report. We wrote, leaders in our industry in 2024 and beyond, they're not going to be companies of a particular size, equipment configuration, or printing specialty. They will be data-driven. They will be companies that draw on AI and big data, structured, unstructured, semi-structured, to gain insight into the current and future business conditions, craft strategies, assess risk, execute strategies. Because if we can't execute, what the heck is the point? Evaluate outcomes and adjust as conditions change internally and externally more rapidly and effectively than their competitors as the age of AI and big data progresses. Working productively with AI applications and the big data that powers them will become essential skills across our industry. Leaders will recruit, develop, and retain employees with those skills and cultivate a culture that supports them. And that's what I'm willing to say about the future of AI. I'm not an AI expert. I'm not an engineer, but I can see how it is going to redefine who is a long-term leader in this business.
Okay. And Lisa, what do you see in your crystal ball?
Well, my crystal ball is a little cloudy because this is it's hard to know, but I'll say more to be determined, but definitely organizations that are more efficient, use resources better, have better products, grow sales, are leading their competitors, like Andy said. And I think just doing an overall better job of addressing all the trends in the industry. And Dan, you and a couple of your members on the wide format news team, you just did this great piece on 2024 on some key takeaways. You and Denise Gustafson and Tony McQuilkin and Gabby Huck, and you mentioned, automation and color management and labor and sustainability and service expansion and market growth and all of these trends in the industry. And I think that AI is going to do a great job in addressing and all of those trends and helping companies really succeed in the future. And I would highly recommend that anyone listening read that article. It's called the FI News Team's 2024 Takeaways. And also, I would tell you that our crystal ball is ongoing, and Andy and I and the rest of the research team, we're going to continue doing research on AI, and we have things planned in 2025 to keep following this game-changing, disruptive trend. So please stay tuned.
All right. Well, Lisa Cross and Andy Paparozzi, thanks so much for talking to me today.
You've been listening to the Wide Format Impressions broadcast. You can find more great content at wideformatimpressions.com.